Cigars and Price for Monday, September 29th, 2025. And this show, a presentation of Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the Historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Cigars alongside Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner Mike Paterson, hitting switches and conducting things. We had much different weekends. Blake was on his feet the entire time, tending to just about everything. I was on the couch all weekend, watching all of the sports. What a glorious weekend of sports. I cannot remember a sports weekend where I had as much going on noon to night as I did this weekend.
Well, truthfully, September has been, for the first time in my career, intersecting with fatherhood. It's the first time that my family has staged a sports intervention.
Oh.
They maintain I have been watching too much of the sports.
No. You have to fix them on
and that. I said, guys, the Jays have won the division for the first time in 10 years. Mm-hmm. The Whitecaps might just be the best team in Major League Soccer.
That's right.
The Lions have won 3 straight games and still have an outside chance of hosting a playoff game. Mm-hmm. The Vancouver Canucks are just getting started, for heaven's sakes. This was before I even put on a Canucks game. Women's rugby.
Your Seahawks are 3-1. Thankfully, they play Thursday night.
Yes.
Would you have even been able to fit them in yesterday afternoon?
Well, that's right. It has been an absolute confluence of big things happening.
No, if you're a Jays, Seahawks, Lions, Caps, Canucks guy or gal, it's pretty heady stuff right now.
Not enough time in the day. Not enough time.
I got home Friday to catch up on Ryder Cup, which drove me right into the Lions game.
Yeah.
And the Blue Jays game.
Yeah.
And then I woke up in the morning and watched Ryder Cup until the rugby was on. Wish Canada would have kept me around on the rugby longer, but I was checking back in. And then more Ryder Cup. And then, lo and behold, here's another huge Blue Jays game.
It was a bridge to...
I should say, and it ran me into the Canucks on Friday night as well. You had all sorts of things going. Multi-screen. I have never been a multi-screen guy. I sort of like to pay attention. To one, I don't mind flicking around. This was the weekend that got me thinking, okay, where can I get another television in here?
Well, what really pissed off my family was the out-of-town scoreboard games. So I remember this at the end of last year in hockey. I watched Orioles-Yankees.
I watched a little Orioles-Yankees too on Friday.
And my family was like, the Jays game's over. What are we doing here? I'm like, well, I got to watch this, see what happens with that.
No, I know.
Sorry.
My dad yesterday's like, there's football and golf. Why are you watching the baseball? I said, well, because they win the division. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the weekend as much as we did. The Redwoods Golf Course poll question today, very simply, who makes the team? Braeden Cootes, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, both or neither. You can vote at the Cigars and Price X and YouTube channels. Let's break this down for a minute. We ended Friday's show with J-Pat saying, Linus Karlsson, we know what he can do. Braeden Cootes is really coming. Jonathan Lekkerimäki hadn't been great. Got to show us something. He goes out. He gets an assist. He's +2, throws 6 hits, Blake. 3 shots on goal, 5 attempts. And the one thing I think we got to consider, on top of what we've been talking about, for a Canucks team that looks to be a little light on offense and goal-scoring personnel, particularly after the Höglander injury, do you have to make room for this kid? And he's a right shot, Blake, and that power play looks like it could really use another right shot as opposed to one of the lefties, Kane or DeBrusque. So Lekkerimäki coming when he needed it, right? Then there's Braeden Cootes. And I see our old friend Grady Sass has done the math. 3 preseason games so far, 3 points, 2 goals and assists, 5 shots on goal. He's only trailing Kiefer Sherwood in time on ice, 5-on-5. The Corsi is splendid. The shots, the scoring chances and high danger chances are excellent. He's above 55% in the face-off dot, for heaven's sake. I mean, young players normally are easy meat in the face-off dot for veteran center icemen. And the youngster says he is getting more and more comfortable every night. Here's Braeden Cootes after Sunday's game in his hometown of Edmonton.
Yeah, for sure. You feel more comfortable as you play with them. I mean, you get to know the guys more. It feels more normal than, like, oh, I'm in the NHL kind of thing. It's like, it feels more normal, and it gets more easier each game.
Now, games 1 through 4 of the preseason is almost AHL level of hockey, though.
Well, the road games, for sure.
Yes.
And, of course, there were kind of 3 because Abbotsford was a road game. And
so the next Seattle. 2 games, if he's going to stick around, even more of an eagle eye on what he's able to do in these 2 last preseason games, which should be very reminiscent of NHL lineups.
Let me correct myself. I mean, the home games when the other team is sending their road outfit.
Right.
Yeah. Bottom line is Vitaly Kravtsov has to show something significant. Vitaly Kravtsov, the KHL import. He was a top 5, top 10 scorer in the KHL last year. One-time first-round pick of the New York Rangers. Canucks property, came back.
Honest to God, we talked a little bit about him going in. I have forgotten he is here.
He's probably out at this point, but I think you do have to leave open the opportunity. The 2 games left, maybe he gets on the radar. I think Max Sasson had the longest way to go to make a roster spot up against some of these guys, maybe outside of Braeden Cootes, of course. So I do think that Max Sasson would have to have a couple of stunners here to get back on.
Have you officially answered the poll question?
I am in a second.
Oh, wow.
I'm getting there.
You still have...
we're going through the other options here, Blake.
Okay.
Just don't rush me.
It's not a 5-hour show, but okay.
We're having... we're marinating over a nice dinner. This isn't grab and go. Does Linus Karlsson feel any pressure here? Like, we all believe that Linus Karlsson was not only on the team, but in the opening night lineup as the 12th forward, which, and the Höglander injury, I think, gave him further grip on a roster spot and opening night lineup spot. But
I think Karlsson to me gets the Kravtsov logic, but more actual in that I think he's going to be given a decent line in these last 2 games. I think Karlsson gets an opportunity probably. With a good duo, and it'll be the Canucks saying, show us. I think he's probably on the team anyhow, but I think he better show pulse at the very least.
I am for the moment answering the question neither, but I think if either of them have one more good preseason game, I think there's room for one of them. You?
I am willing, and this is I'm deep down. I'm a neither guy too. I can convince myself into a Lekkerimäki vote.
And here's the thing: I'm neither because they both can be sent. Well, in Cootes' case, down to junior, and in Lekkerimäki's case to the AHL without any kind of waivers. Whereas that's not the same with Linus Karlsson, Arshdeep Bains, Vitaly Kravtsov.
I think
I will say this.
I
think Cootes is ahead of Lekkerimäki just because you do get the extended look before you have to send him down to junior, right? The 8 or 9 games that you can go without burning a year on the contract, and because of the center ice position, and because Aatu Ratu hasn't looked great, although he did score late last night.
Yeah, I mean he's got points in 2 games, Ratu. So he's not flashy, but he is ultimately showing up on the bottom line. That I think he's on the team anyway.
For sure he's on the team.
Lekkerimäki doesn't have the 8 games, but he doesn't need the 8 games. As you said, it's non-punitive to send him down anyhow. So I think Lekkerimäki's shot is a separating skill that maybe two other guys on the team have. Like, I'll give DeBrusque and Besser the benefit of the doubt that their shots are better than Lekkerimäki,
sure
but
they're there.
So the fact that he has separating skill, and that's not to say that Braeden Kuz won't be a fine NHLer.
The only problem with his separating skill, Blake, is it's the hardest one to have to lean on to get NHL games with NHL coaches. Like, if you have NHL speed, there's a bottom line, there's a baseline there that I think a coach feels more comfortable with. If you have NHL size, it's sort of the same thing. If you have NHL playmaking ability, stick handling ability, the problem with having an NHL shot and the rest of the traits not necessarily being of NHL level or being just NHL level is you're reliant on other people to get you the puck.
Yep.
There's a lot of standing around. There's a lot of what are you bringing outside of those few moments in a game where you get a chance to shoot the puck. So we're still learning Adam Foote. I'm not sure what his risk level is with young players. I'm not sure what his patience level is with young players. And I don't know how willing he is to gift a roster spot to a guy who's really not going to help you out outside of the shooting opportunities, maybe the power play utility.
But that goal last night is exactly what Lekkerimäki needed to show his coach at some point. And he also did at the outset of the weekend.
It is also the loudest tool that gets the coaching staff going. We ain't got anybody else who can shoot the puck like that, and we may struggle.
But I think I said this going into the Seattle game. I don't even care if you score. Show me shots. Show me that you are a shooter. And he got 3 shots in each game on goal.
Yep.
6 shots for the weekend. Like, that's again.
And many more attempts, too.
Yeah.
And he was physical Friday, too.
So good on him.
Golf lessons at the Redwoods Golf Course. Blake and I can attest how fantastic they are. Set your children up for the sport of a lifetime with private and semi-private lessons available, flexible to your schedule. This is for kids 6 to 16. There will be some winter lessons and camps coming up, which we will tell you about when we get a little bit closer. The other thing about the Redwoods Golf Course, check out the restaurant. And if you have a well-behaved dog, leashed, well-behaved pups, bring them on course. Go to redwoods-golf.com/instruction and book those lessons today. Time now for our top story. It is brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Decision week. The Canucks enter the final 7 days before the NHL roster deadline with 2 preseason games remaining. And now some difficult decisions thanks to that push from below. Monday, 2 p.m. next week, everybody. That's when rosters are due to the National Hockey League to begin season 25-26. You do have games, regular season games, beginning next Tuesday. The Canucks, of course, not till next Thursday, home to Calgary. And Braeden Cootes is coming. The Canuck rookie first-rounder stars again this weekend in preseason. He's making a real push to be kept on that opening night roster. Goals in both games, including in his hometown of Edmonton. There was a play last night, Blake, where he had the puck coming up the right wing. He squeezed between the boards and the defender, maintained possession, threw a pass, generated a scoring chance. He's out there 4-on-4 against McDavid and Chytil, of all people. Mm-hmm. So it was quite an assignment, quite the heady time for a kid who grew up in suburban Edmonton in Sherwood Park. Here's Cootes about playing in his hometown.
Yeah, it was cool. Watched a lot of games here growing up. Even getting able to play against some of their top guys that I watched a lot, and obviously have a good bit of family and friends here, so it was pretty cool to hear the cheer.
What did you think of the team's effort tonight, especially in that third period as you guys kind of fought back?
I thought it was really good. They had, like I said, a lot of their lineup in. They're a really good team. We had a bit some younger guys, and we fought really hard. Thought we kind of took over that third period and almost, got it to overtime. But it was a good push.
Here's some counterintuitiveness here for you. Based on the lineup he just faced in Edmonton, based on the fact you could theoretically throw him into these 2 preseason games going forward because he's had lots of rest, it wouldn't be too much for him. Here's the counterintuitive thought. You don't keep him around for the 8 or 9 games because you've already seen him he's already got that lesson. Like, if you've got no inclination as the Vancouver Canucks to hold him past the 8 or 9 games, Generally, you'd be saying we wanted him to get that taste of NHL action so he knows what to do.
Yeah.
He's getting pretty close to that here in these 3 straight games. Edmonton, Calgary, Edmonton. These are going to be pretty reminiscent of actual NHL games. He's already learned here, as of today, okay, this is what NHL hockey looks like.
I hear your mouth. It's not your worst counterintuitive take. Of course, you would be keeping him for the 8 or 9 games because you think he can help you win. And
if you think he can help you win for 8 or 9 games, then he should stay for throughout.
There's a case for that. Now, and of course, also because you're pretty thin at center. Now, I don't think there's any world where Teddy Bluger gets sat down to play Braeden Cootes, and I say that because of the penalty killing. I think Teddy Bluger will feature as their primary penalty killer and face-off taker on the PK. I could see a world, and we talked about this last week, Blake, the problem with not getting that second-line center is that you gifted a roster spot to Aatu Ratu and told him, kid, there's not a lot of competition pushing you. Could Cootes serve as that competition if you keep him around for 8 or 9 games? Does he keep Ratu honest? Because, oh, wow, they kept an 18-year-old, and he's a right shot center.
Well, I'm arguing against myself from last week here, but given how well he's shown, that you're not looking for this to show up, I think everybody's, you want to be pretty dress rehearsal-y for the last game, but for the next game here, does Filip need to play the next game? Filip shown you a lot already.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. You know how I feel about
so sit Filip, and there you go. You got your 4 centers.
Kiefer Sherwood called Cootes a stud after Friday's game. Adam Foote immediately announced he's going to get another game. He played 16:58 against the Oilers. Scored. He won 6 of his 11 draws. Only Kiefer Sherwood and Filip played more amongst Canucks forwards. Ratu gets the goal last night. Well, Friday as well. It had been a struggle for Aatu Ratu previously. We liked Drew O'Connor's speed last night. We know he can skate. Filip looked terrific. Came down to the third period, but Ratu and Lekkerimäki doing what they did in the third, I think, enhances their chances. Very quiet for Carlson, Sasson, and Baines, I think. In fact, I know Baines was viewed as one of the better players at camp and in the scrimmage. Other than that, I think Steve Baines is playing his way off this team.
Yep.
Don't love that. Local kid, Surrey, love the story, but I think it's clear that there are either guys who are better than him or guys who could be better than him in reasonably short order, more talented than him. And then let's get to the defense for a second. Jeff didn't seem to think that anybody set themselves apart. Mancini certainly did early on the offensive side of the puck, although there was that ominous comment from Foote about calming him down in the neutral zone. We liked the one preseason game from Vilander. Pierre-Olivier Joseph struggled Friday. Is the door wide open for Victor Mancini to make this team? Do you think they sweat Pierre-Olivier Joseph on waivers if Mancini has certainly looked better?
I don't think you sweat Pierre-Olivier Joseph on waivers, no. Given what the Vancouver Canucks have on defense right now, in terms of almost ready-to-bloom prospects, if Kirill Kudryavtsev was needed, I think you can play him. I don't think you sweat the journeyman player on waivers right now from a defensive side of things. So no. And for Mancini, I think it's there. I mean, he don't play in every game in the preseason, so you can't make an impact necessarily every single time the Canucks play. But right now, I think Mancini's in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
To win a roster spot. Not necessarily a lineup spot,
the one
but a
thing
roster
I'll
spot.
say is Mancini, of course, does not require waivers, so you can send him down without worrying about the asset.
Yeah, I mean, for the purposes of clearing next Monday, and then you can, of course, rejig after.
Jig, for sure.
So, I mean, on paper, he may not be here 8 days from now, but 9 days from now, maybe he is. Who knows?
Okay, so let me get you on record here. Is it going to be 14 forwards or 8 defensemen?
Well, we still don't know what they're going to say about Höglander. And
Well, he's week to week.
right. So, but if they put him on LTIR to start the season, that changes
I
everything.
don't think it's going to be LTIR to start the season.
They're going to hope he gets back by November
They
1st.
they have some cap space. Yeah.
No, but it allows you the roster spot.
No, I understand, but it also means he's got to miss, 20-some days?
9 games or...
Yeah. I think you got to give. I mean, they said week to week. Of course, they don't always, message accurately on injuries, but I think you got to give yourself and him the chance that he's going to play inside of those windows.
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling me there aren't 2 more games and I've got to make a decision now, I think I probably go 14 forward to 7.
I think so too.
But I've got time. I'm going to use it.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I hear you.
Let's see how everybody, moves up and down the power rankings before the end of the week.
All right. What's up with Yellow Dog Neighborhood Foolish Ducktoberfest?
Well, they've got a lot of exciting things as usual because they are a brewery and everything that they do is super exciting. So I could get into Ducktoberfest if you'd like, but I'd also like to talk about Brew Loops. Brew Loops?
Brew Loops, come again?
Yellow Dog Brewing, Yellow Dog Spirits,
Okay.
and Neighborhood Brewing are slinging drinks this weekend at Brew Loops. Friday, October the 3rd to Saturday, October the 4th at MacArthur Island Park in Kamloops. Beer, music, community spirit. Grab your tickets now. You know how some names just roll off
Mike
the
is
tongue?
giving you a furrowed brow. Brew Loops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like a cereal. It's not.
Canada's tournament capital.
Brew Loops could be a cereal, though.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first person to put beer in cereal.
No.
It's been done.
We've been so fixated on the second line center as the biggest hole on this Vancouver Canucks team, and rightfully so. And we got Darren Dreger on the program, and he's going to expand on all of this. First time with Dregs this season, and he's done some digging. David Pagnotta, fourth period, was saying last week, don't discount an addition in the middle to the bottom 6. And, of course, Höglander, right? He said, I do think the Canucks are going to start just looking around for a mid-6, bottom-6 type forward. They started poking around. I think they'll escalate that a little bit. We know at one point there was some interest in Jack Roslovic. The idea was, who's still a free agent, the idea was they were going to make him the bargain basement offer. They made Kevin Lankinen and basically say, if you're willing to sign and play for that, then there you go. Giddy up. Let's go. But to me, middle to bottom 6, in a world where Höglander misses the first month, let's say, Blake, do you think that's wise? Are all your eggs in a 2C basket at some point this season, or do you think another body who could factor into the middle 6, particularly if they can play center ice, gets you to at least the trade deadline, if not through the season?
I'm not against it. I have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Sure.
And so, yes, there is a world where you can find another Chytil you're talking about.
Yeah. Maybe not even at
Quite
that
at that
level,
level.
maybe a smidge below.
I'll be honest. I saw Justin Dowling was on the waiver wire, and I was like, how bad is Justin Dowling? He's too bad. But it was sort of that ilk. I was sort of like,
There were a few names on the waiver wire that caught my eye as well, and I went, is there any chance?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so early. In fact, I think some NHL teams put some guys on waivers this early just to get them through.
Yeah.
who looked at it and went,
Anyway, I'm not
they're
advocating.
even lower profile now because people go, oh, they're not even amongst the lowest cuts.
You're not really thinking to shop yet on the waiver wire. So again, Justin Dallin is not I'm not advocating, but I'm saying, yeah, if there was a certain 3C that came across my vision, that I could be convinced of that approach.
Because, of course, one of the 2C candidates came off the board this weekend with Mason McTavish re-signing with the Anaheim Ducks. He was an RFA. We were wondering where that was going to go. Insiders had wondered all summer whether Mason McTavish would prefer moving on from Anaheim, but he signed a 6-year deal with a $7 million average annual value to stay with the Ducks. Now, that doesn't mean he can't get traded. That doesn't mean he won't be disappointed with his ice time if, in fact, he is playing behind Michael Granlund and Leo Carlsson as this season goes along. Having missed training camp and a bunch of preseason games, I think it's pretty clear that he's going to start behind the group. So we'll see where that scenario goes. But
I like that contract, by the way.
If you were, so do I.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good player.
And $7 million is going to be it's going to be middle class money very short.
I mean, I almost wonder if
might be now.
Pat Verbeek just won the waiting game here, and the kid just panicked and went,
years 5 and 6 of that deal, like $7 million that's going to be third line money.
I mean, that's a big right shot 2-way center. No, he's a left shot or right shot, but that's a big 2-way centerman who's already showed some scoring acumen early in his NHL career and was a top 3 pick. So that is no, he's a left shot. I thought that was an outstanding contract for the team. So we'll see where that situation goes. But if you were a Canucks fan who felt like that 2C hole needs to be filled sooner rather than later, and there's a very compelling argument for that.
Yeah.
You were hoping the McTavish thing lasted into the season, got really nasty. Then Anaheim maybe looked at cutting their losses, saying, okay, we got to move on here because we're trying to make the playoffs and we're playing without an important part or a part that could fetch us a lot in return. Didn't happen that way. Not too dissimilar from the Luke Hughes logic that you're hoping that gets acrimonious and lasts into the season between Quinn's brother and the Devils. Canucks making some roster moves over the weekend. Sawyer Mineo was demoted to Abbotsford. He played the one AHL game last year after a splendid junior career with Seattle, Calgary, and, of course, Canada at the World Junior Championships, the third-round pick, 89th overall in 2023.
I'm looking forward to his year.
He's 20 years old, and you're hoping he looks like EPD?
Yeah.
And Kudryavtsev did last year
right.
in their first taste of pro, and we can continue this assembly line of good-looking blue liners for the Canucks.
That's right.
They've also waived Yuri Patera, the veteran goaltender who was always ticketed for Abbotsford and may actually have another year where he doesn't get to play a lot, depending on how the younger guys, Nikita Tolopilo, Ty Young, they'll vie for starts. And, of course, if you're the Canucks, you're hoping to develop the next goaltender, a la Artie Sheloffs, and keep that assembly line going. Mackenzie McEachern, who was always going to be AHL depth for the Canucks, Joseph Lebate, also waived by Vancouver. Team day off today. Tomorrow that they're at UBC.
We should go over some of the other guys that have been cut too, because they just released all the other cuts from today as well. And there's no shocks here, folks, but it's just the auditions are over for Kudryavtsev, Ulrichsen, Klimovich.
I didn't even see this. This must have happened quite recently.
Chase Stillman is done. After he made a little bit of noise. So, all those dreams are all over, but, most of these guys are back without any waivers. All these young guys that I'm talking about, they're all assigned without waivers. So, I do wonder, Matt, how many more camps for Danila Klimovich?
Well, the thing is he's still young.
Yep.
Because he was in the AHL way younger than most guys in the AHL.
I hope he has a good AHL year.
So do I. I would like to see him play an NHL game this year.
Yeah.
Mueller, of course, has been hurt. We knew that. So has Ravinsky's, the Latvian import.
Yeah, he wasn't seeing anything from him.
Yeah.
And he's a fun player. So
there are no surprises there.
No.
There are zero surprises. And honestly, Blake, there's zero surprises on the timing there in a negative way, too. Like all those guys did well to last.
You only got 2 games left. You only got 2 games left. You
all
got to get rid
those
of all
guys
these
did well.
Yeah.
To last till this point. Did we have the graphic up, Mike? Did we get that to you? We may not have.
Chase Waters, by the way, is gone from his PTO, and I only mentioned him because he's been a
very loyal
good soldier down at at the Abbey Canucks. So,
well, he's been assigned to Abbey, so there.
No, I don't think so. Has he?
That's what the release says.
Oh, does it? Okay, pardon me.
Anyways, so there are.
He's on an AHL.
He was on a
deal.
PTO. That's right.
That's right.
AHL. Yeah. Team day off today. Tomorrow at UBC. We'll be looking for Connor Garland, who hasn't played yet in this preseason. We'll also be wondering about Tyler Myers, who has been missing from the public skating sessions. They may very well have skated a group yesterday that didn't make the trip to Edmonton. So a couple of veterans there, but also, like, if that's just pure maintenance for 2 vets, no troubles there either. There is big worry coming out of the New York Rangers camp. And Blake, think about how miserable a sports weekend it has been for New Yorkers. You saw Europe come into Bethpage Black, one of the iconic courses in that state, and just dummy the U.S. in team play, hang on for the victory. You watched the Giants win a football game, but lose star receiver Malik Neighbors to a ACL injury. You saw the New York Mets with an utter collapse over 3+ months. They were the best team in baseball in June, Blake. They had the best record in the major league. Juan Soto and all that money. Pete Alonso and all that money. Francisco Lindor and all that money. And the Mets get shut out on the final day of the baseball regular season when Cincinnati gave them a window to the wild card, and they weren't able to carpe diem. And now, JT Miller. The former Vancouver Canuck forward is being evaluated for an apparent injury sustained at practice this morning. Not even a game.
Not even the scrimmage either. Like they're doing.
We're talking about practice.
It's like a power play drill, and he lunges and goes down on one knee, and then on all fours, and he's down, gets himself up, and on his own power is able to pump himself with one leg over to the bench, and now he's being evaluated. Pretty innocuous looking, but it's one of those things that where players listen to their bodies. They're like, nope, not good, and off he goes.
And look, I don't ever root for anyone to get hurt, so I hope it's not too bad for JT Miller. But really, if JT Miller were to miss 80 of 82 Rangers regular season games this year, I wouldn't much care. I do care that he's in the lineup on October 28th at Rogers Arena against the Vancouver Canucks.
Right. That would take the sting out of that game a little
We're
bit.
less than a month from that game, Blake.
Yeah.
We need the marquee. We need Petey versus JT in that game.
Yeah, for the most part, I'm the Seinfeld popcorn meme, but you're right. I would want a little more meaning for that game.
Now, I can think of, I'm visualizing the Seinfeld meme. Shame.
That's a shame. Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah.
Kick your feet up. You were doing that earlier. It's very at home today. I walk in, his feet are up on the desk. I go, oh, we're doing feet on the desk here. This is the desk. I mean, we only have one. It's supposed to be kept clean.
It's a nice countertop.
I go, oh, feet on the broadcast desk today. And he goes, I was on my feet all weekend.
Yeah.
I've earned it.
It's true.
Despite the admonishment at home about too much sports watching.
Went for a big, long hike.
I don't get that anymore.
No?
No. When we were first together, she like, boy, you watch a lot of sports. Like, are there any sports you don't watch? But now it's just, she's happy.
Lost cause.
You go in that room.
That's right.
I'll be over here with the cats. Occasionally the cats visit me. Is he alive? Does he have any food? I bring popcorn. If I open the popcorn, then the cats come.
Really? They like popcorn?
The cats love, the one in particular, it's his favorite thing.
Really?
I don't know why, but
Cat after my own heart.
yeah, they're big popcorn cats. Okay, let's get to today's menu. It's brought to you by Greta. Fantastic spot to watch all the games, home and away. A really great spot if you're looking for a venue for a gathering. Like, let's say it's an office thing and you want to, build that team inside the office. Let's say it's a sports team and you're celebrating the end of a season. You want to kick off a season with a little shindig. Maybe you've got some family in town. It's a big family. You're looking for a big space so you can stay away from that annoying.
Or let's say you're
or
a
uncle.
podcast/YouTube show and the Canucks are about to start a season. Maybe
The
you want to
local
get
hockey
people
team,
to.
like the Vancouver
Yes.
team, is about to start a season.
So maybe, just maybe, keep your ear to the ground.
Because I do think we will be doing some watch parties with our friends at Canucks Army. All one word. At some point in October.
Someone's read the legal memos.
So if you need that venue or you want to join these watch parties as we watch Vancouver hockey and only Vancouver hockey, check out Greta. For more info, to book your event, gretabar.com, 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. Also steps from the arena and stadium. Jeff Patterson is going to join us here. As you know, Jeff watches these games very intently. He picks up so much and will take us through the 2 preseason games on the weekend and then the stakes at hand, how things shape up for this final decision week. We will also be joined by Darren Dreger. Darren has done some digging, both on the Canucks camp and, of course, in his duties around the National Hockey League, being the insider and all. But we're going to talk about Petey and Besser and Demko and Evander Kane from a Canucks perspective, as well as Luke Hughes and what's going on there, as well as some other matters around the National Hockey League. Our first hit this year with Darren Dreger, our NHL insider. He'll join us Mondays. It'll be this Monday. We'll have a Monday in October, and then when we get closer to November, December insider season, Darren's going to be with us weekly.
You said Quinn Hughes. I'm going to ask him about Luke Hughes.
Did I not say Luke Hughes? Yeah,
you
Luke Hughes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Luke Hughes is, yeah. Blake and Dregs get conspiratorial on Luke Hughes. I'll leave it at that. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I had Europe to win the Ryder Cup. Plus 170.
Which was a hot take at the moment that you made it.
Well, the other thing, though, and I heard a lot of people relying on world ranking and the stats, but of course, world ranking you can kind of throw out the window now with the Live Tour and not getting points. Blake, this just wasn't a very good U.S. team.
No.
By U.S. Ryder Cup standards. Like, I'm sorry, but Ben Griffin and Harrison English and Colin Morikawa, based on the form he was on, and light hitting Russell Henley, like, these are not guys who make an American Ryder Cup team when the U.S. has got a full field of 12 players. Like Russell Henley is officially the number 3 player in the world. Like, if he's the number 3 player in the world, I'm the king of England.
Your Honor, Your Highness.
No, but honestly,
it's a far cry from.
They put him with Scheffler, and it was like, that's the highest rated U.S. pair, Russell Henley.
It's a far cry from vintage Dustin Johnson, vintage Brooks Koepka. They were imposing to look at.
Oh my God, were they ever? I mean, they were downright scary. There were a lot of guys on this, and then meanwhile, I thought the European team, outside of Højgaard, who, let's face it, is a young player who was the 12th best player, and probably doesn't make it if they're taking a larger swath of the Live guys. Rahm and Hatton actually have a legal appeal going on right now in European courts. That's why they were allowed to play in this tournament. I thought that was as good a European team as I've seen in an awfully long time. So I felt quite comfortable in that. I'm going to go Monday Night Football. I think the Miami Dolphins are just dreadful. I think they got serious problems on both lines of scrimmage. I think they have coverage problems. I hate their culture right now. And
other than that,
no. And Blake, as you know, I am not a big judge books by covers. I'm more a substance of your words and thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But the head coach in Miami on the practice field in the what do you call the short pants again? The stylish short pants, like halfway down the calf.
Plus fours?
No.
Caprice?
Caprice. A head football coach in the NFL in Caprice on the practice field. I think you've got some in your. I mean, you got like 70 guys on the field. They're a soft team. Their coach gives off a soft vibe. And the other thing is, there are tons of New Yorkers in South Florida who snap up tickets. Give me the Jets. I don't even need the 2.5 points. Jets, 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 plus 125.
I didn't know that we were on Bro Project Runway here. Rafael Nadal used to work Caprice in competition.
That's tennis.
Oh.
This is football.
Oh.
You're asking some of the guys in your charge to put their good health and safety on the line in this sport.
The least you could do is wear pants?
Well, just not Caprice. You can wear shorts.
I'm not following.
As you know, I also dislike hoodies on the golf course, particularly on the professional golf course.
I have no comments other than this. Broncos minus 7.5. Broncos minus 7.5.
Broncos. Again, I'm not normally that guy, but
no, you're not. It's very man prees are a thing. I wouldn't wear them, but clam diggers
on the football field as the head coach, like that's a practice field. Like you got some hard dudes on that field. Coaches up here in Caprice. This segment of presentation of Bet365, whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION. When doing so, must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Is Jeff or Darren up next?
Jeff,
sorry. Jeff's up next. Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center. This next segment brought to you by your Toyota Pacific dealer.
The 2025 Prius plug-in hybrid SE is available for your test drive, folks, and you'll want to get to your Pacific Toyota dealers fast to check out what this one is. And speaking of fast, whatever you think about when you think about Prius, redefine it in your brain. This is a sports car now. Like you
we
walk
went on
up
a
to
test
it.
drive, 2 liters. Absolutely. This is built for enthusiasts. This is a spirit vehicle.
It looks spectacular. You can plug in to recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public available stations.
It charges
of course.
as you drive.
And you can do that as well if you want to save it, if you will. You can drive gas and then arrive at a location and then drive electric when you get there. You don't have to have that worry about, am I going to make it or not? You're going to make it. You've got gas just in case. You can lease one now from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 60 months with $3,800 down. And it includes a $3,000 discount. All this is to say, go take one for a test drive. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today.
Fold down those back seats. You got all that room for golf clubs, even goalie gear.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Jeff Patterson, our Canucks reporter, the host of RinkWide Vancouver, which gets going post-game on Wednesday. And, of course, Jeff took in the couple of preseason games over the weekend. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I don't know if I'm Braeden Coots good. Kid had a hell of a weekend, but no, I'm doing all right. And look, it was fun to get back to Rogers Arena, see hockey in there with all those black seats. Some of them were covered with behinds, but not packed, obviously, for a preseason game. But yeah, all things considered, I thought a couple of spirited efforts from the Canucks over the weekend.
Okay, on the 18-year-old rookie Braeden Coots. Jeff, is he undeniably one of their best 4 centers? Is he undeniably one of their best 12 to 14 forwards?
He's certainly been one of their best 4 centers to this point in camp. That's without dispute. Now, Elias Pettersson and Teddy Bluger have only played 1 preseason game, so that factors into it as well. But the kid has continued to put his best foot forward. And look, the goals, element of luck in both of them. One hits them, one banks in. But even if we subtract the goals from the equation here, there's just a lot to like in his game. I think you're seeing his headiness. I think you're seeing a guy that skates pretty close, if not at the NHL level already. What an experience for him to, in his hometown, a Sherwood Park guy, to match up against McDavid and Draisaitl. There was a 4-on-4 situation late in the first period, and it was those 2 guys for Edmonton, and Braeden Cootes was out for the Vancouver Canucks. And I just thought, what a moment. You probably saw the photo after the game the Canucks posted, his crew on hand, and quite a crew it was. So he's making it really difficult. And I think now, a week out from roster decisions, final roster decisions, there's absolutely this path forward now that he's going to make the grade here. It's going to force them to make some difficult decisions elsewhere. But as somebody said to me on social, this organization has to get past this idea of the fear of losing a tweener 25-year-old on waivers if it means that this guy has pushed to the front of the pack here to make the hockey club better. And I wholeheartedly agree that, again, he may not last the entire season, but as we sit a week out from the roster deadline, I'm feeling stronger about this guy getting his opportunity to play in the National Hockey League here.
If he's 19, I've been consistent with this. If he's 19, if it's a year from now, I'm chugging the Kool-Aid. I just, him earning it theoretically when in their heart of hearts, the Canucks know we're probably only going to give him 8 games and then send him down, then is it worth losing the 25-year-old on waivers? If you're pretty convinced he's not going to be with us in early December, is it worth the exercise?
I would say yes. That I just don't fear. Let's use Archie Bains as an example. Archie's been fine in camp. Hear me when I say that part of it. I don't think he's done anything to truly elevate himself, and he's not alone. I thought that line of the Abbotsford guys that all played together out in Abbey on Wednesday night against Calgary, I thought they were flying. They did a lot of good things. I didn't think last night in Edmonton they were anywhere close to that level, and I want they all know the situation, and now with Nils Höglander out of the question for a little while, it just ups the ante, and I want to see somebody separate themselves. And right now it kind of feels like Braeden Cootes is the guy that's doing that. I thought Lekkerimäki had a fairly strong weekend. I've been waiting for one of Carlson, Bains, or Sasson to really assert themselves, and I don't know if it comes with a little bit of experience of being veterans that maybe for some reason, and it escapes me now, the idea that they would leave something in reserves here. But I just think they've all been okay, and I don't know that okay is going to cut it at the end of the day when this team has to get down to those roster decisions. So if they end up losing a guy on waivers, that's the price of business in the National Hockey League. They've already forced a guy like Nils Åman down, and if younger guys are forcing others out of the picture, then I think on a lot of levels that's progress for this organization.
I started off at a few percent, moved my way up to 10 to 15% that he makes the team. I'd like to hear Blake's 2 cents on this, but I'd like yours as well. Jeff, as we sit here on Monday, what percentage chance do you think Braeden Cootes is kept for the opening night roster?
Boy, based on the evidence presented, I'm putting it basically at a third, 33 and a third at this stage. I think that it's well beyond a 10% chance. I would say it's considerably more than 20. So yeah, I'll peg it at 1 out of 3.
I'll go quarter. 25.
He's up to a quarter, but he's up from 0.
Yeah, that's true. I am.
Well, look, a month ago, I said, hey, best place for a young guy is to go to dominate the Western League, push for the World Juniors. And I felt that at the time. But as I've watched this unfold, as I've seen others sort of stagnate here, and I'd put Aatu Räty goal aside last night, I don't think it's been a particularly good camp for Aatu Räty. My concern remains, and we saw it. Look, Braeden Cootes was tested physically last night. Matthias Ekholm got him with the sneaky elbow there behind the net. There was another play in the third period where it looked like he had to collect himself, dust himself off, but he gets right back up. But guys, we all remember Gilbert Brulé was absolutely dominant in junior hockey, right? And the Columbus Blue Jackets tried to turn him pro as an 18-year-old. Suffered a broken sternum, if I remember correctly. Like, it's a man's league, and these guys are young, and that really set Gilbert back, and I'm not sure that he truly ever recovered. So maybe apples and oranges, but I just think off the top of my head, an example that sort of hits close to home here. And Brulé was a better player at this age than Braeden Cootes was, but it's just a reminder that you're running up against guys that are 10 and 15-year vets that are 40 and 50 pounds heavier than you are in some cases. And I think that's the other thing. The first week of preseason, guys are still feeling their way, getting their feet wet. Like, it was good. A great experience for him to go up against McDavid and Draisaitl at times, but he has yet to feel the bright lights and the true intensity of National Hockey League action. And so he's handled everything that's been thrown his way to this point, but there are still a few levels here before that final cut.
Jeff, Braeden Cootes aside, who helped themselves the most over these two preseason games on the weekend?
Oh, I think Lekkerimäki. I thought it had been a little bit of a slow start for him through Penticton and early in the preseason, but we know that the shot is a separator, and when you see him score the goal 6-on-5, a hell of a pass by Filip, who has been dishing dimes here in the preseason, there aren't a lot of guys that are putting that puck in the net as effortlessly as Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Like, that was the big shot on full display, taking it and, into the wheelhouse, into the back of the net. Stuart Skinner didn't have a chance. And there were other moments. So, he's a volume shooter. He ends up with 6 shots on goal. I thought his night went as it went along against Seattle on Friday. If the puck doesn't hit Cootes, it probably goes in anyhow, but he gets an assist on that Braeden Cootes goal at Rogers Arena on Friday night. And, we're all watching. Okay, the shot is undeniable. It's great to see it on full display. It was great to see him cash in, but we know if he's going to be an everyday NHLer, has he rounded out his game? And he had the short off season. I've been impressed with his battle level and some of his play away from the puck, shielding the puck when he has it. I do think that there have been some strides in that regard. So, I always say you're a first rounder for a couple of reasons. One is you've been blessed with hockey skill, but generally you have the hockey IQ to go along with it. And I think Lekkerimäki's a smart guy that processes the game well. And I think he gets that, for him to be in the National Hockey League where he wants to be, that, he can't just rely on pucks being put into his wheelhouse, that he's going to have to go and make some things happen as well. And I've started to see that. So I think his second week has been better than his first week. And I thought this weekend was a real step forward in the right direction for Jonathan Lekkerimäki, who now is back in this same conversation of spots on the opening night roster, especially with Höglander, a winger, not expected to be ready to go, and probably not for the first couple of weeks. Enter Jonathan Lekkerimäki back into the equation here. And I think a weekend like this one was a good indication on his part that he recognizes that and is trying everything he can to put his best foot forward.
Jeff, do you think there's a world where they would keep Lekkerimäki, have him play fourth line, and basically use him as a power play specialist, especially to get another right shot there on that first power play? Do you think there's like a specialist role available for Lekkerimäki now, especially given the Höglander injury, or do you think it has to be the top 6 or bust that we have talked about before with this young man?
Yeah, I'd prefer to see him placed in an offensive role. And look, we've already done this sort of exercise of identifying the top 5, and then there's this question about who is the other guy in the top 6, and was it Höglander? Is it going to be Garland? Connor Garland's interesting to me because it certainly looked like he was going to play, went through all the motions on Saturday at practice, including power play drills, and then didn't play and hasn't played yet in the preseason. So, if this is them just being cautious with him and dealing with something, that's fine. There's still time here. But, if a guy like Garland can't go, somebody else steps in there. And I thought Lekkerimäki made the most there. So, I don't love the idea. I know we go through this concept of a skilled guy playing lower in the lineup and then getting power play duty and all those types of things. I think if there's an opening and Jonathan Lekkerimäki can continue to play. And I don't know if he's going to get both games here or if he gets one of them or if his preseason's done. Only they know that at this stage. But I think he is auditioning for a spot higher in the lineup.
Are you believing what Filip Chytil is showing right now? Is this legit from Filip Chytil? The one wild card will always be his health. But there was questions just about whether or not he was skilled enough, ready for second-line center assignments. Is this proving it to you?
For me, like the pass to Lekkerimäki was terrific. We've seen breakaways for him in each of the last 2 games that he's played. The speed is undeniable. But I like the fact he played 19 minutes and 48 seconds. Like, that's a heavy workload, even in the preseason. And the fact that he keeps getting through these games and passing those tests, like, those are all positives. But I think that's going to be an ongoing question with him, right? That every game you get through is another opportunity to get back in there. But with the health history, we can't just set that aside. But I am buying what I've seen. Like, I thought in Penticton, he was so invested. He was one of the guys I thought that really was setting the pace and the tone for training camp, and he's carried that into his preseason looks. Now, the game in Abbotsford, Calgary didn't set much of a lineup, so it wasn't a surprise that a legitimate National Hockey Leaguer kind of rose above. But he had that nice snap pass to Wielander that resulted in the Hoaglander goal after Wielander hit the post. And then the cross-seam pass last night to recognize and then execute and put that puck onto the stick of a Lekkerimäki. Like, those are big league plays. So, yeah, I mean, it's all very positive around Filip Chytil right now. And, of course, that can change. You know, the one caveat in all of this is he's generating these chances, and we saw this after the trade and down the stretch is, attacks with speed, backs guys off, but gets into that final third, and there just isn't the tangible takeaways that wind up on the score sheet. So, I want to keep seeing that from him. That's been encouraging to me that this time around in the preseason, at least, he is finding his way onto the score sheet. He's making things happen offensively. But it's going to be an ongoing evaluation with this guy. But the short sample that we've seen since he hit the ground in Penticton, I think it's all been very promising in and around Filip Chytil.
I'm looking forward to the last 2 preseason games in that they'll be more reminiscent of NHL lineups for the most part. And that goes both ways. A little tougher defensively, perhaps in some sense, because more likely to be faced off against NHL players. But at the same time, you do get protection. Like, if he's actually the second-line center for these next 2 games, with Elias Patterson in the lineup ahead of him, you're going to get second defensive pairings more likely than not, and the non-matchup pairings. So you could read it both ways, but I more reminiscent NHL game. That's where we're going to be able to decide on Filip Chytil, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, just based on the way that the Canucks have elected to go here in the preseason, like Elias Patterson, Brock Besser, Evander Kane, Jake DeBrusk, Quinn Hughes, they all played at home on Friday, but that's their only preseason appearance so far. Yeah. I have to think that they all play both of these games. Send them to Calgary and ice a much better lineup. Quinn Hughes maybe is the exception there, that he looked like he was in midseason form. He was dealing on Friday night. Now, they were down, and I know it's preseason, but competitive juices kicked in there. And but I thought Quinn looked exceptional. So he looks ready to go. But all those other guys play them Wednesday. And then basically, I would imagine that Friday will be something close to a dress rehearsal. Although, we've seen coaches in the past use that as that one last audition to get a final look at some guys that are on the bubble. But the other thing too, guys, is that Friday night, it's the Oilers' final preseason game. And so as good a lineup as they iced at home for their final home preseason game, I would think that most of their big boys will be in that lineup as well. And that's great for the evaluation process. So I think it's good for all of us that these final 2 games should be much closer to the Canucks opening night lineup with some evaluation still going on. But I would think that the competitive nature and hopefully the entertainment value will both rise as this week moves to the end.
What's up with Tyler Myers?
Yeah, that's a good question because he played in Abbotsford and then was given a maintenance day off on Thursday, and that's fine. A veteran guy doesn't need to be right back on the ice 12 hours after they had played out in Abbotsford. But Thursday bled into Friday and then into Saturday. And I saw him around the rink. I was having a good chat with Tyson Barrie on Friday before Tyson Barrie's debut on the television broadcast. Myers in sweats just outside the locker room. So he's around the hockey club, but he hasn't been on the ice with the group for 3 straight days. Now, I don't know what the non-game group did on Sunday. They may have had escape, but wasn't there in attendance. And now Monday's a full team day off. So that's certainly one of the things to keep an eye on, because it's gone from maintenance day to clearly something more than that. But still 10 days from opening night, they can be patient with anybody that's dealing with any sort of nagging injury. But without a doubt, on my list of things that I'll be monitoring closely when they get back to full practice on Tuesday.
All right, so you and Irf got RinkWide Vancouver, the season debut of the post game on Wednesday after the game in Calgary, and then again on Friday after the game versus Edmonton here at Rogers Arena. Do I have that right, Jeff?
You do, and looking forward to knocking a little rust off and just getting back into the swing of doing what we do. And then that all leads up to, obviously, opening night on October the 9th against the Calgary Flames. They're in this run of games against either Edmonton or Calgary right now, so they're going to see a lot of their Alberta rivals, and maybe that fuels the rivalry for opening night and then the first road game of the season, which is in Edmonton. And we should point out as well that we are 1 week away. Next Monday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, is the time that the rosters have to be into the National Hockey League. So it's that close now. There's a week to go, but next Monday, National Hockey League games start on Tuesday the 7th. Canucks don't open until the 9th, but there are games, 3 of them on the 7th. So rosters in to the headquarters by 2 p.m. Pacific next Monday.
Look forward to all of it. Jeff, thanks for this. Catch up Friday.
Sounds good, guys.
So here's some price from the Historic Wall Center. In this segment, a presentation of Simply Spiked.
And despite what Darren Dreger's shirt is going to tell you, summer is over. And yet, sometimes I feel the need to drink something that doesn't make me feel so full. And that's why I love Simply Spiked. No bloated feeling, just crisp, great tastes. And it's perfect for your next hangout, because once people get a load of this, they'll be clamoring for Simply Spiked. 3 different variety boxes to choose from. The 3 different types of lemonade, 3 different types of limeade for a little extra tartness, and then the peach box as well with 3 different varietals there as well. 5% natural juices. There's nothing.
Got to keep up with those real fruit juices, even though the season has changed, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, the peach at this time of year, it's ripened in the can just perfectly, right? At this harvest time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's real world applicable.
Mm-hmm.
Go get your Simply Spikes at the next government or private liquor store that you drive past and enjoy it with your friends.
Here he is, TSN Hockey Insider, one half of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. He's back with us again this season as our NHL Insider on Mondays in his summery shirt. It's Mr. Darren Dreger. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's very summery here in Ontario, at least southern Ontario, where we're pushing the high of 24 degrees Celsius. Wow. I don't have the luxury. My golf game has been borderline lousy all year anyway. But as soon as training camps get underway, I stop kind of thinking about golf, which is either good or bad. In my case, it's bad. But you can still kind of, even though I'm not out on the golf course, I can look out my window. I can see how beautiful it is outside, the blue sky and all of that, and at least play the role like a wannabe. And that's what I'm doing here today.
You see, we finish up with Dregs every March, April, when the golf season is really taken off here and they're still waiting. So, payback here. In late September.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dregs. You've done some digging on Canucks camp. What are you hearing?
Well, just positive stuff. And I that's not breaking news. And I think that most clubs would give you their spin on positivity. But, there's a lot of new around the Vancouver Canucks. There's some interesting storylines. What is Evander Kane, as an example, going to be to the Vancouver Canucks? Can he be as good as he was in Edmonton? And I think the short-term return is that's a yes. Yeah. I mean, he adds a uniqueness to the lineup, a physicality. He's got good secondary scoring and sometimes primary scoring, depending on how Adam Foote is going to employ him. But I think so far they've liked what they've seen there. The players that you needed to come back to training camp and into the preseason, ready for the regular season, faster, stronger, appear to be that. Talked about Elias Patterson, Brock Besser is another. And now it's clear that we would identify those two players because they've got a magnifying glass on them, right? I mean, Canucks fans, they want to see it. They want to see it in the regular season. I mean, what do you learn when you're watching in a training camp drill or even in preseason hockey? But for the most part, I know the coaching staff and management like what they see in those two guys. So that matters. And then you also want to see the development of your younger players, the guys who maybe aren't NHL ready yet, but they're pushing. And I think that Vancouver loves the look of their defensive core, both what they have in-house ready, veteran experienced guys and all of that, but also players that maybe need a little bit more seasoning, but are real close at this stage.
And that's before they even trade for Luke Hughes.
Which we will get to, Dregs. Blake has a theory here. Just back on Kane. We were a little surprised it cost a draft pick and taking the full salary on Kane, but we were told that there were several interested parties. I think 2 other teams outside of the Canucks
Agreed.
who were really hard in on Kane. Can you bring us back to that? Who was Vancouver vying against there, and how did it all shake out?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure who the specific 2 teams were. In dealing with Dan Milstein, who represents Evander Kane, he just acknowledged that there were actually a group of teams that had explored, a high level of interest. And, the idea of going back to Vancouver, essentially Evander's home, was one that, fit his eye, the player's eye, and he wanted that to work. He wanted to make that happen. And I want to revisit what I said. I can appreciate how a team might be somewhat reluctant to take on Evander Kane on a longer term. But how can there possibly be any risk? This guy can still play at a high level. He absolutely can. He's got an injury resume, but part of that is also based on how hard he plays. But when you look at the remainder of the contract here, come on. I mean, he is still a valuable player, and he's going to want to contribute. In front of his hometown fans, maybe stick it to the Oilers a little bit. Why wouldn't you? I mean, they need to create cap space, and he was part of the way that they did that. But I'm not surprised, and I wasn't surprised at the time. But to say that there were 2 or there are 3 teams specifically, that's more challenging. But I do know that Vancouver wasn't alone in the pursuit.
Filip had a nice start to the preseason, but I don't think that should preclude the Vancouver Canucks from still shopping for that second line center. The problem is that there are others pursuing that profile of player, aren't there?
Yeah, you know what? Managers literally laugh at guys like me when we ask them about a second line center or a top 4 defenseman. And normally it's, a top 4 right shot defense. I mean, everybody in the league is looking for those players, right? So there's always an eye roll. But in Vancouver's case, legitimately, they are looking for a number 2 center. And now Filip, as we talked about before we went on off-season hiatus, was going to be the internal option that they hoped they would be able to lean on. And by all accounts, that's the way it's going to be. In a perfect world, sure, Patrick Allvin is able to snag that 2-way center. However he does it, where is that guy coming from? Can't tell you, because, as Doug Armstrong from the St. Louis Blues joked about a while back, 27 teams in the league are looking for that number 2 center. But if you're able to find that legit number 2, then Chytil, if he can stay healthy, turns into a 2B or a real solid number 3 center. So I think that's the direction that Allvin is continuing to push. But I'd say the same thing, Quinn Hughes and the Montreal Canadiens. I had the same conversation with Hughes last week about their second line and specifically a number 2 center. And he goes, man, I tried. And when I look at Vancouver and I look at Montreal, there are teams certainly in this country that don't have the trade assets that those 2 clubs have. Vancouver's got a deep up-and-coming blue line. Montreal has a deep up-and-coming young core, particularly on defense. So there are attractive commodities available in Montreal and Vancouver, but apparently not attractive enough. Or those guys are just shopping in too high a rent district, and the players that they're targeting just aren't available.
All caps if they pull off a trade for a second line center this season, it's probably a guy that we haven't talked about yet. Is that right?
I would
it's going to be
so.
From a team that has fallen off, et cetera, et cetera.
I think so. That makes a lot of sense. And that's also part of an intriguing storyline for me as we, encroach the start of the regular season. Who is going to be that team or those teams like the Nashville Predators a year ago that were just no good? And is that team, maybe they're a team that didn't embrace the idea of a renovation or even a rebuild, leading up to the trade deadline or through the offseason because there was ownership pressure or whatever. No, we're a better team than that. We can insulate certain pieces. We can try and claw into that playoff equation. Well, all of a sudden you're 15 games into the regular season and things haven't gone your way even a little bit. And maybe the anxiety is amplified because you've got the Olympic break. That might condense the year and get some of these managers trading a little bit earlier than they normally would as well.
Mason McTavish is signed. Now, we saw this with Trevor Zegras, and he never quite got back in favor in Anaheim and was ultimately moved out. But as you understand it, is McTavish now off the block?
I would think so. They see, I like Pat Verbeek isn't paying lip service when he talks about how important Mason McTavish is as a corner piece of the Anaheim Ducks moving forward. I believe him when he says that. The player I think preferred a shorter term. Why wouldn't he? Because then you're getting into, again, a higher annual average salary value when you come out of that bridge. But I think that this is a real fair deal for both. It's too bad that it had to go the way that it did. But you can appreciate why McTavish dug in, supported by Pat Morris in Newport. I mean, talk about sharks, man. Pat Morris lives for this kind of stuff. So he ended up getting a sweet deal for his player and some term and security. But I also feel, fellas, that this was also a bit of message sending by Verbeek and the Ducks to Leo Carlson and their younger guys that they've got coming up in the very near future on contract. And now for me, that message is, hey, we're here to make deals. We're trying to build the Ducks into a contending team again. And that's hard to do when you're backed up by the restricted free agents on these short-term contracts, or then you go with the bridge and you get hit over the head with a deal that you have to pay because that player has evolved into that type of player. So I think it's a win-win. And the message definitely would have been delivered to those other young players that, look, we're here to make deals, but you've got to prove that the investment we just made in Mason McTavish, you're worthy of. So I like this deal from a Ducks perspective.
The getting back on Canucks and the Canucks camp, Darren, Brock Boeser and Thatcher Demko are the two longest-serving players in the organization. Demko under club control the longest, Boeser on the NHL team the longest. You're hearing good things about maybe Brock having gained a step or two of speed and Thatcher really asserting himself as a leader in that room. Pray tell.
Like a hungry attitude. You're right. A hungry attitude for Thatcher Demko. That's what I'm hearing there. And I'm curious how that manifests. I don't think that maybe leadership gets enough credit in Vancouver. And when you've got, a number one goaltender in Thatcher Demko, who's got a strong and positive attitude, that just bolsters that leadership group. And of course, he's got to stay healthy too, knock on wood. And he's got to apply all of that physically, into to giving the starts the Vancouver Canucks are going to need. But I think we can expect that. Brock Boeser is curious for sure. I think we were all surprised at, him circling back to the Canucks and getting the deal that he ended up getting. But he committed to his offseason regimen. And by all accounts, he does look a step faster. How's that going to look when the regular season starts? I don't know. But he's impressed the coaching staff to this point, as has Elias Patterson. And I don't know if you guys caught Adam Foote on the Rain Dregs podcast, but he took us through, and this was interesting, how he explained how players, focus on getting stronger and heavier and faster and all those great things in the offseason. But it doesn't always work. And especially when you're a lighter player, a thinner player, and you get heavy, can you carry that weight? And the explanation Foote provided with this guy doing close to 20 pull-ups and proving to everyone, hey, I can carry my weight. Again, it's got to translate in game action, but he's a bigger man. And so to be able to do that sort of fitness testing, I think that just applies credence to the fact that he's invested. And if he can stay that way, we've seen enough evidence in his game that he can be a superstar in the NHL, but they need him to be that.
Biggest muscles for Quinn Hughes might be between his ears, and Canucks don't want to lose that, obviously. Jim Rutherford's comments in the spring have permeated throughout the course of the summer here, Drake. So here we are months later, and it is still the chief worry for this team very clearly. And yet there's nothing they can do. They can't even sign the guy right now. They've got to wait another year.
No.
You've had a summer to sort of percolate and hear about how it is being disseminated throughout the league. Where are we right now with this Quinn Hughes situation as you see it?
Well, I can appreciate how it's going to be headline grabbing, and it's going to be a main focus around the Vancouver Canucks, not just in the market, but literally internationally. Why wouldn't it be? I mean, the captain, this guy is a superstar, and you're literally looking at a limited time frame here. But I think we're going to have to deal with craziness, moving forward. There's going to be those who say, he's already told them that he's not signing. He's just going to let this thing roll out. Well, that could be, but what we know is that Quinn, he's dedicated and he's committed to the Vancouver Canucks. He just is, and he doesn't know how to do anything other than play his very best when he dons the jersey and steps onto the ice. So, yeah, I mean, I think Canucks fans in general have to relax a little bit, at least for the first half of the season. But that it's going to be a major talking point in the second half, especially as you claw closer, to the trade deadline. But Vancouver is going to do anything with Quinn Hughes, provided that they're in it. And there's no reason to think that the Vancouver Canucks aren't going to be in it this season. Maybe we're having a different conversation as we drift into, the playoffs or late in the playoffs, early June. I don't know.
Yeah.
But right now, I think it's much ado about nothing, to be honest.
So Tom Fitzgerald on July 1st says Luke Hughes is our off-season priority, and nearly 90 days later, Luke Hughes is still unsigned, Dregs. It has this guy over here saying, why not call Jersey and make a Godfather offer for Luke Hughes? What is the holdup on baby bro getting his extension in New Jersey?
Oh, nothing really, just term and money. That's all.
Just those two ingredients.
Yeah, just those two things. But, I checked in with Paterson yesterday on this. He represents the Hughes brothers, as we know. And, it's very amicable. There's nothing nasty about it. But you're right. I mean, Fitzy did say that it was a priority to get this guy done. And we're on the cusp of the opening of regular season. And it's not done. And as of last night, it seems like there's not a whole lot going on in those negotiations. And Fitzy didn't even respond to me when I asked him about it. And Pat just simply said, nah, we're not really anywhere at this point. So
why would Fitzgerald play hardball with the Hughes when he could have all the Hugheses if things go well here? That's what I don't get.
I get it.
Like there are certain guys who put a stake in the ground with, but when it's the brother of the best defenseman or one of the two best defensemen of the world, and you have the third brother who's one of the top center, I would be doing everything in my power to facilitate a Hughes reunion New Jersey.
I was provided with a conspiracy theory earlier today, not from anyone close, and let's be mindful of the relationship between the Hughes family and the Brisson family, right? And the fact that Tom Fitzgerald is a deal maker. He is, and he's trying to be fair to Luke, right? I'm sure he thought he was being fair to Jack. Maybe the family sees it differently. I don't know. I haven't talked to Jim or Ellen. But if you're being mindful of this and the idea, the dreamland of the three brothers playing together, well, you better make sure Luke is looked after right now, long term, right? And what does that look like? It obviously doesn't fit the model or the eye of the New Jersey Devils and Tom Fitzgerald, or that deal would have been done by now.
Are you saying that it might, in retrospect, have been too sweetheart a deal for Jack, and thus better pay Luke? Like, is there any buyer's remorse on behalf of Jack signing that long-term deal for what could very well be
I don't know that for sure, but wouldn't every player that signed a contract a couple of years back,
that's
now
right.
that you look at the salary cap,
yes.
the cap that's climbing and it's climbing and it's climbing. I mean, as soon as you put ink to paper, you're losing future income. So, I mean, I could appreciate if I had that level of swagger, and this kid is going to be, again, we're talking about all three of them are superstars, and Luke just has to prove it a little bit more because he's the youngest. But I could appreciate why he would want to dig in, and that must be where they're at.
Dregs, truth is often stranger than fiction. So just humor me here.
Okay.
Elias Patterson, Connor Garland, and a first-round pick, or Lekkerimäki, or both, for God's sakes.
He means the defenseman, not the center.
Who says no?
Well, just like, what does Fitzgerald even take the call? Because he knows what's up. He knows what's at risk for himself in terms of the Hugheses. Like, is there a price, or like, are we literally having a GM hang up the phone on another GM for a guy who right now is still a third pairing guy? I think
he's second.
You asked me to humor you, so I am going to, and I'm going to fuel it a little bit more.
I love you for it.
And I don't look at this is not insider information, so I don't want to get radioed.
No, we're role playing here. Yes.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, if we're having this conversation here and now, like, you're a smart dude, Blake. I mean, you really are. But
debatable.
If you woke up this morning with that theory, do you not think that Jim Rutherford and Patrick Colvin probably have had the same thought at varying stages of this?
Of course.
And whether you'd get anybody ever to admit that there's been a conversation, I'd be surprised if there hasn't been. Both ways, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't there be?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't there be? Because inevitably, I think we all expect at some point that's what's going to happen one way or another. So I just don't know what that package would look like. It would be a beauty for sure.
Lastly, Dregs, you mentioned Adam Foote's appearance on your show, and I got to tell you, back in the spring, brother, he had been 2.5 years here as an assistant, had barely spoken, was very non-committal at that introductory press conference, although there were a couple answers that quite stood out. I was real worried. We were talking about a rookie NHL head coach who didn't want to have to do the communication and messaging thing and wasn't going to be very good at it. Through preseason and training camp, I am astounded at how this guy has addressed every matter with the team with honesty and forthrightness and clear messaging. I've been really, really impressed with his communication skills today.
Well, yeah, I've had the privilege and the pleasure of getting to know Adam personally over the years. He's from the Whitby area. He's super close with a guy who used to work with Bob Torrens. So I've had so many deep hockey conversations historically with Footer. Not enough late. I mean, he's being very respectful and he's busy. He's trying to get his team together here. But he's been coaching for a long, long time. I remember just being in awe of some of the stories that he would tell of the days in Colorado when he and Patrick Juan Joe Sakic would sit around and they'd just formulate all these plans. They'd dissect their power play. They'd make tweaks. They'd go to Bob Hartley. Hey, we got to try this. Those guys were coaching well before their time. That's just how his brain works. So, and he's got 2 young sons. So, I mean, I think, for those who don't know him well, he is an excellent communicator, but there's a different standard and different level when you're the head of an organization, the head of a coaching staff. So I'm not surprised. I think he's going to be excellent. And he's got tough shoes to fill in Rick Tocchet, but he's going to bring a different spin to that bench, a different philosophy. But as far as being direct and holding people accountable, he will be every bit of that as Rick Tocchet was.
That's fantastic. As are you, sir. Look, not really insider season here, so we're going to catch up at some point in October, and then we'll get going for real once we got a chunk of the NHL season under our belts. Appreciate this, Darren. Welcome back. Thanks.
Thanks, fellas.
Sekerson Price from the historic Wall Center built by Arbor Lee. The best plays aren't just on the ice or on the field. Stay downtown at the Wall. Enjoy an exclusive Sekerson Price rate. Perks, call 604-331-1000. Tell them we sent you some blackout date supply based on availability.
It's like a share concert. We've done a wardrobe change.
Yes, and to remind as well, tomorrow is the day of National Truth and Reconciliation. We will have no scheduled show tomorrow. If there is big Canucks news, as always, we will break in with the emergency pod. Whitecaps beat goes on. Not with a win, but with a 2-2 draw in Seattle, extends their unbeaten streak to 8 games across all competitions. Brian White scores on a nifty feed from Thomas Muller before leaving the match.
And he had just gotten in, by the way. He was a second-half substitute.
Aggravating that hamstring injury. Matthias Laborda scores late to equalize. Another patchwork lineup for Jesper Sorensen, who just keeps getting the most out of this extended roster. Ralph Priso fills in at center back, a position decimated by injury for the first time as a pro, right? Like, we had not seen that.
And he wasn't terrible. He was fine, but it was a really loose and wild game, by the way, back and forth. Yeah. And what it told me was, in that lineup, with Priso there, young Tate Johnson back at left back.
Yep.
Jeevan Badwal played for most of the game.
Midfield, Daniel Rios
started. With this team, if they can get healthy, and it is an if at this point, they are so much better than the competition, than 2/3 of the league. The question is, can they get healthy? Time is running out in that regard. Brian White did celebrate. They won the Cascadia Cup. We'll get to that in a second here. But he was out there hoisting the trophy, smiling. So he's hurt.
Good sign.
He
said he felt something, and I think they were, the lion's share of precaution here. The result clinches home pitch advantage in the first round of the MLS playoffs for Vancouver. It puts the Caps even on points with San Diego for first place in the MLS, but with a game in hand. So mathematically, they are back in first place. And it wins Vancouver its record 8th Cascadia Cup over the Sounders and Timbers, both of whom could feature as postseason opponents, Blake. If the Caps drop to second place, that could be a first-round matchup with Portland. And if you win the first round out of first place, that could very easily be a second-round matchup against Seattle. Philadelphia won big, so they're up 6 points on the Caps now for the Supporters' Shield. Vancouver just the one game in hand, so they would need Philadelphia to lose here a couple of times.
What you might want to do if you're a Whitecaps fan, obviously you want the Whitecaps to finish first in the conference. You also want LAFC to get really hot. And if they can, catch San Diego and finish second. LAFC looks unstoppable right now. And now San Diego has its times too.
Sonny has scored in every game.
Sonny and
coming over
are
from
crazy.
Tottenham.
So the further on into the playoffs you have to face LAFC, the better. But, it's not easy at the top of the West.
How about this, though, from Hart Joe Hall of the Daily Hive? We had her on the show last week. Jesper Sorensen is undefeated against Whitecaps rivals. 4-0-4 against Seattle, Portland, LAFC, Toronto, and Montreal. That's just amazing work.
The big ones.
Note off the pitch, internationally for them, the 17-year-old striker, Rayan Alumi, who featured and scored earlier this month in that blowout win over Philadelphia. We mentioned he's from Edmonton, but he is a dual national. He has chosen to play for Tunisia. I guess he did not have a lot of time with the Canadian junior U18
internationals,
programs. And we should also mention the Vancouver Rise. They draw 1-1 with Halifax. It's enough to clinch a playoff spot in the inaugural season of the Northern Super League. The Rise have 2 games remaining, both on the road. They can finish as high as second place in the league. BC Lions get an ugly but important 27-22 win Friday at BC Place over the Toronto Argonauts. Nathan Rourke throws for a touchdown, runs for 2 more to help offset 3 interceptions. Mathieu Betts with 3 sacks to extend his CFL lead to 13 and gets a forced fumble as well. And we mentioned this kid, subbing for injured starter Christophe Beaulieu, North Vancouver's Jackson Finley of Vancouver College with an interception in his first professional start. Congratulations to Jackson and the Finley family. He's a bit of a legacy guy. Lots of professional football players in his ancestry. Defense is coming around. Very pleased for Mike Benavides and Ryan Phillips, who have been two longstanding guys for us on this program. They're looking a lot better. And you got to love the tough, determined running down the stretch of Rourke and backup running back Xander Horvath late to ice the game.
I freaking love Xander Horvath.
They may have found something here, Blake, with
He's a beast.
James Butler, Horvath, Rourke, 1-2-3 punch on the
It's
ground.
thunder and lightning.
I know it's the CFL, and you're more often winning by throwing the pill all over the yard, but wow, that BC ground game looks really good right now. I mean, Horvath is just a load.
He's a he can almost be used as a tight end too, out of the back. Like he can receive the ball. He's just a handful. Love it.
He is the hammer, not the nail.
Yeah.
As we mentioned last week, a win and a Calgary loss could really make things interesting, and the Stampeders did in fact lose in Montreal on Friday. Now, sadly for BC, both Winnipeg and Edmonton won.
Yeah.
So the 8-7 Lions remain in fourth place in the West. But as we also said last week, a win here was like effectively clinching a playoff berth. BC is 3 games up on Edmonton due to winning the head-to-head tiebreaker. They do have a game remaining, but BC's won the first 2. So that tiebreaker ain't changing. They're 3 games up on Toronto for the final crossover playoff berth. A win Saturday against Calgary at BC Place puts them into the playoffs in some capacity.
I think they have to win out to host.
Well, that's it. They trail the Stamps by a half game. They trail the Bombers by a head-to-head tiebreaker. That is also not changing.
No.
So they got to finish ahead of Winnipeg in the standings. Both clubs are 8-7. Bombers and Elks have a bye this week. Still a chance at a home playoff game after a third straight win here for Buck Pierce's squad. We should also mention, this is the big news, they announced their first 2 home games of the 2026 season will be held at an expanded Apple Bowl in Kelowna. Capacity will be increased to 17,500. We'll know the dates and the opponents when the CFL releases its schedule later this year or early next year. The club also returning to Langford Starlight Stadium for its home preseason game in May. Training camp going back to Kamloops Thompson Rivers University. I think when we were discussing potentially 2 different sites for these games, Blake, we failed to consider the logistical lift this takes from the club. Like I just know when they did the game, the Touchdown Pacific game last year, just how busy everybody with the club was in getting that game up. So it makes sense that if you're going to do that, get 2 games out of it in one stadium. Don't go somewhere else across the province looking to put another one together.
And the Victoria thing is plug and play. Yeah. That stadium is ready to roll, so they don't have to touch that. And then Kelowna at the start of a summer, the population swells a little bit, so you've actually got more people to if you had to do it, if it was for some other reason, renovations or something, you had to do it in October, it'd be kind of annoying because you go to Kelowna, it's a different city in October than it is in June, July. So it's best case scenario here for the Lions.
No, I know everyone's thinking of tickets, how I get tickets to this game. If you're in the Okanagan, easiest way is become a BC Lions season ticket holder. If you're a season ticket holder, you're going to get priority to claim your seats for both the Kelowna games and the game in Langford. NFL, where the Cowboys and Packers, a tie, Blake? A 40-40 tie on Sunday Night Football? If not for that Baltimore-Buffalo thriller in Week 1, maybe the game of the year. We started Week 4 with 6 unbeaten teams, now down to 2, Philadelphia and Buffalo, who seem like they're on a collision course for the Super Bowl 60. In San Francisco. Indianapolis loses for the first time this season. The Chargers lose.
The Chargers lose to Jackson Dart and the New York Giants on the strength of the young quarterback throwing for 111 yards.
Here's the thing. Joe Alt, the terrific left tackle for the Chargers, out. Their terrific right tackle, Rashawn Slater, has been hurt all year. When you're missing your starting offensive tackles, especially against a Giants team that has really good edge rushers, that becomes a problem for you. Tampa loses as well. So do the San Francisco 49ers at home to Jacksonville in the upset. So because of that and the LA Rams win, of course, the Seahawks winning Thursday night, you've got a 3-way tie at 3-1 atop the NFC West, looking like a fantastic division. Tennessee, New Orleans are your two winless teams. The Miami New York Jets loser will join them today at 0-4. If there is a loser, we just had a tie.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And this from Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. We mentioned it. Devin Witherspoon returned on Thursday from injury for the Seahawks. He also notes, Rappaport does, the emergence of Josh Jobe and Darian Kendrick at corner, and says teams are monitoring Pro Bowl corner Reek Woolen as a possible trade target at the deadline. His playing time has diminished. He's gotten on the wrong side of head coach Mike McDonald. Of course, he had those awful sequences in week 1 when the 49ers were coming back and taking advantage of him, of all people, in their game-winning drive. So, I don't know.
Well, late versus the Cards, he didn't look great either.
No, but you've got 13 games left, plus you're hoping to play 3 or 4 more playoff games. Like, that's a lot of football. I wouldn't go willy-nilly into, he's in the doghouse, let's start trading out corners, because
unless
if those
Matt,
ranks thin out later in the year, you could very well regret not having Reek Woolen available.
Now, this is a narrow path. I'd have to go down the rosters of 31 other teams here, but is there somebody heavy at the wide receiving position that is thin there, and you go Reek Woolen for
or for a center, which continues to be one of their weaker spots? We'll see. Yeah. Jays get it done. They destroy Tampa 13-4 on the final day of the regular season, clinch the East, the top seed in the American League. They join the Mariners on the bye, get to watch the wild card round, which begins tomorrow, with a couple of delicious matchups in the AL. I mean, Red Sox, Yankees.
Crazy.
And then Cleveland and Detroit went right down to the wire in the AL Central. Tigers with an epic collapse. They'll get going in the other wild card round. Victoria's Nick Pivetta to start game 1 for the San Diego Padres tomorrow at Wrigley against the Cubs. You're going to make a playoff start at Wrigley against the Cubs. Not announced yet, but I think you're going to see the Jays host the early game Saturday when the ALDS playoffs begin. I say that because Toronto is the market that matters the least to the American networks, and so typically the market that matters the least gets the early billing.
Oh, they got the West Coast host in the American League in Seattle. So.
Seattle is likely to be the late game because they're the only Pacific Division team with home field advantage for the ALDS. Philadelphia and Milwaukee will be involved there as well.
By the way,
I say that about the early, but it could be Yankees, right? And if it's Yankees, Blue Jays, maybe they'll look at it and say, okay, the Yankees on their own are a big enough draw.
Yes.
It's just that no Canadian viewers rate for U.S. network television, although, and this is a pleasant sight for Blue Jays fans, Sportsnet will be doing the games too. So you'll get Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez on the call.
By the way, full credit to the Jays because I did not see them sweeping the Rays. I didn't.
They've struggled so much with Tampa over the years, and Gausman himself has struggled with Tampa.
So they got the sweep, and most importantly, if you're a Jays fan, the bats finally came alive. And you can say, it's just one game. Hey, they just remembered what it's like to put bat to the ball. That could, now they could forget in the next 5 days, of course,
right.
But
the other thing we should Rays were very much given some young players opportunity.
Yeah, they benched 3 regulars, but they also were playing very aggressively. They were like, hey, we got nothing to lose here. So they were on the base paths and stuff. They were playing very aggressive.
I did not anticipate sweating out a European victory yesterday at the Ryder Cup, but that's exactly what it was. An exciting conclusion after the Euros dominating the team play. Then nearly blow it in Sunday singles, winning just the one match. Event marred by distasteful behavior from the U.S. fans who crossed several lines, especially with Rory McIlroy and his wife, Erica.
Terrell Hatton called it abuse all weekend long because he was there for 3 days with Rory and said it's worse than anything he's ever seen in the sport.
Yeah. This from Irish columnist Roy Curtis. American Ryder Cup fans, along with a fair number of their players, are a perfect emblem of Trump's ugly, aggressive, condescending USA. witless, boorish, jingoistic, loud, entitled, clueless, rich, compelling proof that ape is a descendant from man. Tom Watson, who is maybe just about the classiest person in the game of golf, I'd like to congratulate Europe on their victory. Your team play the first few days was sensational. More importantly, I'd like to apologize for the rude and mean-spirited behavior from our American crowd at Bethpage. As a former player, captain, and as an American, Watson said, I am ashamed of what happened. Look, the New York crowd was surprisingly quiet early Friday. I think the American side expected a more boisterous and supportive environment. And then then came all those European birdies and leads, right, which really took some of the passion.
As it got worse and worse, they got worse and worse.
But the strange part of it, as Rory noted in the post-match yesterday, is that he heard more shouts against him than he heard support for Scotty Scheffler in yesterday's single match. That's number one versus number two. The comeback was on to a degree already. So I do think there were people who attended this event who went there with the purpose to be boorish towards Europeans more than supportive of their own players. If I can use a Trump word, sad. Really, really sad.
They had hired a professional cheerleader at the first tee that they had to quickly fire after they were promoting.
Well, one of the MCs on the mic for the first tee joined in the "fuck you, Rory" chant. Yeah. She resigned. Needless to say.
Yeah.
Like, when you have microphone responsibilities, there are certain no-fly zones. One is cursing.
Like, who would even think
one is cursing at one of the players, the competitors.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, this is golf. The concession, famously, Nicholas and Jacqueline, where Jack said, I didn't want to see you miss it. Sportsmanship is supposed to be front and center in this event. It was lost this time around. U.S. continues to be plagued by poor team play and leadership. How about Keegan Bradley? Like, we wondered why he was a qualified captain at age 39, only having played in 2 Ryder Cups. But his kick their fucking ass comment from that Netflix Full Swing reality series looks mighty stupid now. So did his preamble there. I've been doubted my whole life. Note to Keegan, this is a team event. It was not about you individually or your doubters. Europe just seems to get everything about this event, and America seems to get nothing about this event. And incidentally, there are some good American players who were god-awful in the first
Scheffler included.
Scheffler couldn't make a putt. Schauffele was abysmal. You saw Xander Schauffele, before he won yesterday in singles, missing putts, the likes of which I've never seen Xander Schauffele miss putts 3 feet wide, 5 feet short. Colin Morikawa is a dreadful putter to begin with. He was awful. Harrison English was awful. Russell Henley was awful until yesterday.
My only regret from the weekend was that Bryson DeChambeau down 5 came back.
Well, down 5 to
it looks so good on him to be down 5.
Yeah.
Like him losing 6 and 5 would have been chef's kiss.
Really, the only misstep for the Europeans, outside of the singles play where they nearly blew it, but and Justin Rose acknowledged, he said, I was probably not polite enough or as polite as I could have been when I said to Bryson DeChambeau and his caddy, it's my putt, please get out of the way on that scene that took place.
Was there also a scene, I read something, but I didn't flesh it out. Scheffler and DeChambeau, were they paired together at some point?
Yeah, so Scheffler
drains a birdie, deeming DeChambeau's putt useless, and then he putted it out anyway to make sure that he matched him?
So they have tried to stop them from putting out and not taking practice or unnecessary putts, but I saw a little bit of it. Yes.
But others thought that it was a bit of hubris from DeChambeau of, I'm going to make my birdie 2.
Oh, well, it could very well be, and that could be exactly the symbol I'm talking about, American individualism. How about the little barb from little Tommy Fleetwood, though? It's harder than YouTube, isn't it, on their way to the 16th tee, as his 6'10" caddy is getting into it with Bryson and his caddy. It did not go Canada's way Saturday in a 33-13 loss to England in the Rugby World Cup final. A record crowd of nearly 82,000 at Twickenham, the spiritual home of the sport, included our Prime Minister and his British wife, and some amazing scenes pregame with our anthem and postgame with that English
Second half yellow card
celebration.
gave them a window of hope. If they had scored 2 or 3 tries there, they had a chance. They only got 1 try on the yellow card.
Yeah.
And it was not
They were
to
so
be.
close a couple of times. They couldn't get the ball over the line. I don't
Yeah.
understand rugby like you do, especially the penalties, Blake, but it seemed like when England got the ball down towards the scoring,
They were moving the ball so
and
well.
Canada did not.
Yeah.
The Red Roses win their 33rd consecutive game, their 3rd World Cup. Victoria Sophie de Goody named the World Rugby 15s Player of the Year. Congratulations to her. She was a sensation throughout the tournament as Canada rolled the opposition up to the final. Results of the Redwoods Golf Course poll question from Friday. Is it important for Elias Patterson, and we do mean Elias, not Elias Patterson, the forward, to have a good preseason? Yes or no? People said.
People said no. They're going to give him more time.
They said yes.
Oh!
They were with you, 65%, although the comments were mostly no. Fishing guy. Don't care how his preseason goes. I care about the first 10 regular season games. If he's below a point per game average when it matters, Canucks will have issues this year. Hassan, yes, if he had a quiet preseason without the past 18 months of sample size, it would be no big deal. But he needs to show many signs of being the old EP40. So agreeing with you. Salt and Paprika, regular commenter. He can't win it in the preseason, but having a bad one will put a lot of pressure on him once the season actually starts. Hughes staying is dependent on a Patterson revival, and EP40 might not want to get run out of town if Hughes leaves. Yeah, angle we haven't actually explored all that much, but things don't go well this year, and Elias struggles throughout. Ooh, boy. Stakes awfully
I don't want
high.
to cover that story, so I'm going to cover that story when I need to cover that story.
Errors and omissions from Friday's program and beyond. Now, Mike Rogerson tells me I did not screw up the question, the Easter egg question, to Jeff Merrick and Blake Price, even though they interpret it incorrectly. I will try to be clearer next time. But Jeremy has found a captain that we missed. The question was Vancouver Canucks players to go on to captain other NHL clubs. Didn't mean that they were Vancouver Canucks captains, just players who went on to captain other clubs. The total is 13. Jeremy puts Darby Hendrickson on the list. He captained his home state, Minnesota Wild, for a couple of months towards the end of a season after a trade of a captain at the deadline. I suppose the number would be bigger than 13 if we're talking about partial seasons, guys wearing the C for other clubs.
But was the question Vancouver Canucks who went on
to captain other NHL teams?
Oh, just singular, right? It wasn't the double captain. No.
Jeremy also mentions Jerry Meehan. He captained the Sabres, then became a Vancouver Canuck. That was not the exercise.
That was not the exercise.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time. Again, tomorrow, no show for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Back with you Wednesday, barring an emergency pod. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local.